Hey everybody, welcome back. It's another episode of Jake Talks Star Wars, and today we are continuing our discussions of Star Wars Visions. Today we're looking at Volume 3, Episode 7, Smuggler. This is a spoilers conversation, so make sure if you haven't seen it that you don't continue unless you're okay with getting spoilers. But talk a little bit about this episode in a nutshell. It's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It's great animation. It's a great story. It's a post Order 66 story, so it's kind of happening right after Order 66 would be going down, or not right after, but some point after that, during the rise of the Empire. So it could almost fit in canon, right? Because the galaxy's big enough. Where there's billions, trillions of planets. So it could be a canon story. We're not sure. I don't know if there's trillions of planets. There's trillions of people with millions of planets. So could be a canon story. We're not sure. Could fit into canon anyway. But I digress. Really interesting story. We get a planet where the royal family was kind of resistant to the Empire, and as a result, the royal family is going to get wiped out. With one exception, with the prince. The prince has escaped his destiny. He has escaped being rounded up by the Empire and whatever it is the Empire did to them. And he is on the run. And as a result, the planet's kind of on lockdown because the Empire really wants to find this prince. Really wants to make sure that they don't become like a symbol for any kind of resistance or anything like that. We're introduced to our main character. Our main character is a young woman. Is a smuggler. She owns a ship. She's going to be able to smuggle people off of the galaxy. Or not off of the galaxy, but she's going to be able to smuggle people off of the planet, potentially. And she's approached by this older woman who's very well put together. Like, this woman, she's very tall. She's very stoic. She's very precise. She almost reminds me of like a Lady Count Dooku, right? Because she has this air about her of like, I am not kind of among you. I'm above you. And she's not snooty about it or anything, but like the way she carries herself, she's not really a person who belongs in a cantina, right? Or anything like that. So that was a very interesting character. But she approaches our smuggler and says, I need passage off the planet for myself and a passenger. And stop me if you've heard this one before, right? Because we've seen this kind of story before in Star Wars. It's kind of the basis for all of Star Wars. But the smuggler says, yeah, sure, no problem. I can get you guys off the planet because the woman's going to pay to get her ship out of impound and all these other things. So it's going to work out great. But we all our characters meet each other. They start interacting with each other. And I really love how as they're learning about each other, they're starting to drop hints to the smuggler is starting to kind of drop hints of where her allegiances are, where her thought processes are. So I really like that. And one of the things they talk about when they get to the hangar, and the stormtroopers and things are kind of occupying the hangar, it's going to be difficult to get to the ship. And the smuggler says something along the lines of, man, it sure would be great if we had a Jedi, right? This would be a lot easier. And the older woman says, oh, the Jedi are no more. And the smuggler, who's younger, says, well, yeah, that's what I heard. Didn't the Jedi like try to do a coup or something against the Emperor and take over and yada yada? And the older woman says, well, that's what the story is. And the smuggler immediately goes, yeah, you don't believe it either, do you? And I really liked that. And I'll tell you why. I really liked it because it's this take that we don't get to see very often of like a normal person, regular everyday person, grappling with this news that the Jedi have somehow turned against the galaxy, right? Because up until this point, the Jedi were a big deal in the galaxy and were often seen, not always, but often seen as a force for good. And in the Clone Wars and in the Clone Wars especially, or the Bad Batch, we saw people who were regular everyday people who interacted with the Jedi and often had an axe to grind against the Jedi or didn't think the Jedi were all this cracked up to be. And so some of those people, like in the Bad Batch or even Rebels, believed the Jedi probably did something untoward, probably did something they shouldn't do. But here we see this character go, no, I don't believe it. I think it's a load of I think it's a load of poodoo, right? I don't believe it. So I think it's really interesting. I like that idea. I like that take because it's more realistic that like not everybody would believe something like that. I mean, gosh, look at the way things are in the world, even in the real world, right? So very interesting how that unfolds, and as they progress, as they're trying to kind of like get around, get where they need to be, they encounter stormtroopers on the street who are haranguing and harassing individuals who are like kind of going after regular people to force them to either give up where the prince is or in attempts to find the prince. Because what we learn is that the stormtroopers are basically um, gathering up every male person within the age group that the emperor, or not the emperor, within every age group that the prince is in. So anybody remotely close to the prince's age that's a male is getting rounded up by stormtroopers. Even if they look like they're maybe in that bracket, they're getting rounded up by stormtroopers with no charges, no nothing, nothing like that, which is, of course, the hallmark of like authoritarian governments. You know, they do those kind of things. So seeing the Empire do that in Star Wars should not be a surprise. But the prince, we learn that our passenger is indeed the prince, right? And the audience can see it a mile away. But we learn that our passenger is indeed the prince, and he stands up to the stormtroopers and prevents them from taking this person into custody. And they fight. And they fight in the streets, and they save this person. But then the whole town, you know, all the people are like, Prince, you have to get out of here. They're rounding people up. You've got to save yourself. You've got to escape. And the prince says, okay, fine. But he still, in an effort to help his people, is trying to make it very obvious who he is and make it very obvious where he's going to draw the Empire away from his people, to allow his people to get to safety, which again is really great, is interesting, is good to see. So we kind of fast forward a little bit because I don't want to give a recap of the whole episode. But one of the coolest things we get at the end is they're finding their way onto the ship, and the person who is escorting the prince, this older woman who's escorting the prince, they find themselves in a corner. And they're being chased by bounty hunters, they're being chased by stormtroopers. So they find themselves in a corner. So she pulls out her arm and she like presses a button or something, and her arm pops open, and out of her arm comes a spring-loaded, it's like a compartment where her lightsaber just pops out, and she grabs it out of midair and goes to work with this lightsaber, because it turns out she's been a Jedi this whole time. And she's been a Jedi this whole time, and she's been on the run defending the prince, because she was helped by the royal family, and so she chose to serve this royal family and protect them because they saved her after Order 66. They find their way off the planet. And they find their way to another planet where there is their destination. And again, I love it because this planet, I mean, it looks just like Yavin 4. If it's not Yavin 4, it's a Yavin 4 clone, complete with the temples, with the pyramid temples and everything else. And it ends with the prince asking the smuggler to stay and to help them and to be a part of their mission, because he wants to go back to his planet and rescue more young people and recruit and rescue young people to take part in the rebellion against the Empire. So really cool story. And it's a story that's begging for a sequel, right? So if we get Volume 4 of Visions, I fully expect to see a sequel to Smuggler, because it's a great story. It's a story that can really almost fit into canon. I mean, you clean up a few loose ends here and there. There's hundreds of thousands of planets in the galaxy, and we know that there were tens of thousands of Jedi, and if only 10%, or if only 10% or however many survived, that's still hundreds of Jedi potentially that survived Order 66 out of the 10,000 Jedi that existed, right? So it's totally realistic to think that this could be canon, could be a canon story. Um, Maybe the planet's not Yavin. Maybe it's a very similar looking planet. That's okay too. In a galaxy of hundreds of thousands of planets, that's a possibility too. Um, because remember, just because two cultures have pyramids doesn't mean they're the same culture, right? A pyramid is just the easiest way to stack rocks and get them to not fall down. That's why cultures on the other side of the planet came up with it, not because of aliens. But that's a whole other story, and I can tell you about that some other day. But let me know, what do you think of season 3 or volume 3, episode 7, Smuggler? Of Star Wars Visions. What did you think of this episode? Did you like it? Do you think this episode is begging for a sequel? I sure do. So let me know what you think in the comments below. Hit me up on Threads or on Instagram and let me know what you think. And thanks again for coming by, guys. I really appreciate you watching. I appreciate you listening. And I hope you all have a great day. And remember, take care of each other out there. And may the Force be with you. Bye-bye.